My son said I was dead weight, so I made sure he carried the burden alone. I never thought I'd be sitting here, telling this story to strangers on the internet, but here we are. My name is Margaret, and I'm 73 years old. 3 months ago, my son told me I was dead weight. Those were his exact words. Dead weight. I've been carrying that phrase around like a stone in my chest ever since, and tonight, I need to get this off my chest because what happened next? Well, let's just say karma has a way of teaching lessons we never expected to learn. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever wondered if the people you love most in this world actually see you as a burden, then maybe you'll understand what I'm about to tell you. And if you've got elderly parents or grandparents, please, I'm begging you, listen to every word of this story. Comment below if you've been through something similar, because I have a feeling I'm not alone in this. It started innocently enough. My son Michael, he's 45 now, successful lawyer, big house in the suburbs, 2 kids of his own. After his father passed away 2 years ago, Michael insisted I sell the house and move in with them. "It'll be easier, Mom," he said. "We can take care of you." Those words felt like a warm hug back then. I thought I was getting a second chance at family, at being useful again, at being part of something bigger than my quiet, empty house. The first few months were good. Great, even. I helped with the kids, cooked dinner most nights, kept the house spotless while Michael and his wife Sarah worked their demanding jobs. I felt needed. I felt alive. Little Emma would run to me after school, her backpack bouncing, eager to tell me about her day. 10-year-old Jake would ask me to help with his homework, and I'd sit at that kitchen table feeling like I had purpose again. But somewhere along the way, things started to shift. It was subtle at first. Sarah would make little comments about how I organized the kitchen differently than she liked. Michael would come home stressed from work and seem annoyed when I'd try to tell him about my day. The kids started spending more time in their rooms, glued to their tablets and phones. I found myself eating dinner alone more often than not, listening to the sounds of their family life happening around me while I sat at the table like a ghost. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening in March. I'll never forget it because it was the day after Emma's school play. I'd been so excited to go, had bought a new dress, even got my hair done at the salon. But when the time came, Sarah said there wasn't enough room in the car. "Maybe next time, Margaret," she said, not even looking at me. I watched from the living room window as they drove away, all of them laughing about something in the car, and I realized I wasn't part of their world at all. I was just occupying space in it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I'd given up my independence, my friends, my entire life to move in with them. I'd sold my house, the one where I'd raised Michael, where I'd had Christmas mornings and birthday parties and quiet Sunday afternoons with his father. I'd given up my book club, my volunteer work at the library, my neighbor Mrs. Patterson who used to bring me soup when I was sick. I'd traded all of that to become a stranger in my son's house. The next morning I tried to talk to Michael about it. I found him in his home office, typing away at his laptop, already dressed in one of those expensive suits he wore to impress clients. "Michael," I said, standing in the doorway, "can we talk for a minute?" He didn't even look up. "I'm really busy, Mom. Can it wait? I feel like I'm in the way here, like I don't belong." That's when he finally looked at me, and the expression on his face. It wasn't the warm, loving look I remembered from when he was a boy. It was irritation. Pure, undisguised irritation. "Mom, look, I'm trying to work. We gave you a place to live. We take care of everything for you. What more do you want?" I felt my heart racing. "I just want to feel like I'm part of the family again. Like I matter." He set down his pen and rubbed his temples like I was giving him a headache. "Mom, honestly, you're making this harder than it needs to be. We're all trying to adjust here. Sarah's stressed. The kids have their own lives. I'm working 60-hour weeks to keep this house running and support everyone. I can't also manage your emotional needs every day. I'm not asking you to manage anything. I'm just asking you to see me." That's when he said it, the words that changed everything between us. "Mom, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Right now, you're kind of dead weight. You're not working, you're not contributing financially, and frankly, having you here is more stressful than helpful. I love you, but you need to figure out how to be less needy, dead weight." I stood there in his doorway, feeling like he'd just slapped me across the face. This was the little boy I'd rocked to sleep, the teenager I'd stayed up all night with when he had the flu, The young man I'd helped through law school by working 2 jobs and sending him every extra penny I had. Dead weight. I see, I said quietly. I didn't realize that's how you felt. It's not personal, Mom. It's just practical. We all need to carry our own weight around here. I walked back to my room, the small guest room that had become my entire world, and I sat on the bed for a long time. I thought about my late husband, how he used to hold my hand and tell me I was the strongest person he knew. I thought about all the years I'd spent putting my children first, making sure they had everything they needed, sacrificing my own dreams so they could chase theirs. And now, at 73, I was dead weight. But here's the thing about being called dead weight by someone you love. It doesn't just hurt. It clarifies. It strips away all the illusions and shows you exactly where you stand. And sometimes, that clarity is exactly what you need to make decisions you never thought you'd have to make. I started making phone calls. First to my old neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who cried when she heard my voice. "Oh, Margaret, I've missed you so much," she said. "How are you doing, honey?" When I told her the situation, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You know the Harrison place down the street from your old house? It's been empty for months. The owner's been looking for the right tenant, someone responsible, someone who'd take care of it." Then I called my sister Janet in Arizona. We'd grown apart over the years, but she welcomed me with open arms. "You could come stay with me," she said. "I've got plenty of room, and honestly, I could use the company. We could travel together, see the places we always talked about visiting." I also reached out to my old book club, my volunteer coordinator at the library. Everyone was so happy to hear from me, asking when I was coming back, telling me how much they'd missed me. I realized I'd had a whole life before I moved in with Michael. A life where I mattered, where I was valued, where I wasn't dead weight. For 2 weeks, I didn't say anything to Michael or Sarah. I watched them go about their daily routines, noticed how they barely acknowledged my presence. I paid attention to how they talked about their plans, their weekends, their vacations, and how I was never included in any of it. I was the built-in babysitter, the unpaid housekeeper, the invisible woman who made their lives easier without them having to think about it. But I also started to see something else. Michael was drowning. He'd taken on a mortgage that was bigger than he could handle, car payments that were stretching his budget thin, and Sarah's shopping habits were putting them deeper in debt every month. I'd been contributing to the household expenses without them even asking, using my Social Security and the small savings I had left after selling my house. I'd been buying groceries, paying for the kids' activities, covering utilities when their money ran short. They'd gotten used to my financial help without even realizing it. The decision came to me on a Thursday night. I was making dinner as usual when I heard Sarah on the phone with her sister. "Oh, Margaret cooks and cleans and watches the kids," she was saying. "It's actually been really convenient having her here. We save so much money on babysitters and housekeeping." Convenient. That's what I was. A convenience. Not a family member, not a beloved mother and grandmother, but a convenience. Like a washing machine or a dishwasher. Something that made their lives easier without them having to think about it. I finished making dinner, set the table, and called everyone to eat. Then I sat down and made my announcement. "I'll be moving out in 2 weeks," I said calmly, cutting into my chicken like it was the most natural thing in the world. The silence that followed was deafening. Michael looked up from his phone. Sarah stopped mid-chew, and even the kids seemed to sense something important was happening. "What do you mean, moving out?" Michael asked. "I mean, I'm leaving. I've found a place to rent back in my old neighborhood, and I'm moving back there." "But Mom, we agreed you'd live here. It's safer, it's easier." "Easier for who, Michael? Because it certainly hasn't been easier for me." Sarah jumped in. "Margaret, if this is about what happened with Emma's play, I already apologized for that. We can make more room in the car next time." I looked at her. This woman who'd never once asked me how I was feeling, who'd treated me like a live-in servant for months. "This isn't about one place, Sarah. This is about the fact that I don't belong here. I'm not part of your family. I'm just someone who lives in your house and makes your life more convenient." Michael was starting to look panicked. "Mom, you can't just leave. What about the kids? They're used to having you here. The kids barely notice me anymore. When's the last time Jake asked me to help with his homework? When's the last time Emma told me about her day? They're growing up, Michael. They don't need me the way they used to. But what about us? What about Sarah and me? We need you here. I set down my fork and looked at my son. This man I'd raised, this person I'd loved unconditionally for 45 years. No, Michael. You need what I do for you. You need someone to cook and clean and babysit for free. You need someone to help with the bills without you having to ask. But you don't need me. You made that very clear when you called me dead weight. The color drained from his face. Mom, I didn't mean… Yes, you did. And you know what? Maybe you were right. Maybe I have been dead weight. But here's the thing about dead weight, son. You don't realize how heavy it is until you have to carry it all by yourself. I stood up from the table and walked to my room, leaving them sitting there in stunned silence. Over the next 2 weeks, I methodically packed my belongings, made my arrangements, and prepared to leave. Michael tried to talk to me several times, but I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't sorry about hurting me. He was sorry about losing the convenience I provided. The day I moved out, I left a letter on the kitchen counter. It said, "Dear Michael and Sarah, I want to thank you for helping me realize that I still have a life to live. I spent the past few months thinking I was a burden, but I've come to understand that I was actually a gift you chose not to see. I hope you find what you're looking for, and I hope you can carry your own weight from now on. Love, Mom." I wish I could tell you that moving out was the end of the story, that I walked away and never looked back. But that's not what happened. What happened next was both more complicated and more satisfying than I ever could have imagined. Within a month of my leaving, Michael's carefully constructed life started to fall apart. Without my financial contributions, they couldn't make ends meet. Sarah had to quit her part-time job to take care of the kids after school, which meant even less income. The house they'd been so proud of suddenly felt impossible to maintain. The kids, who'd seemed so independent, started acting out when they realized I wasn't coming back. Michael called me 6 weeks after I'd moved out. "Mom," he said, and his voice sounded broken. "I think I made a mistake." "What kind of mistake, Michael?" "I didn't realize… I didn't understand how much you were doing for us. How much you were contributing. We're struggling, Mom. Really struggling." I sat in my new living room, looking out at the garden I'd started planting, surrounded by the things that made me happy, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. "I'm sorry to hear that, son. Would you consider coming back? We could make it work better this time. We could include you more, make you feel more welcome." "Michael, do you remember what you called me?" There was a long pause. "I was stressed, Mom. I was overwhelmed. I didn't mean it. You called me dead weight. You said I wasn't contributing anything valuable to your family. So tell me, son, what's changed? What's different now?" "Everything's different now. We need you." "No, Michael. You need what I can do for you. You need my money, my labor, my free babysitting. But you don't need me. You don't value me. You don't see me as a person with my own worth and dignity." I could hear him crying on the other end of the line. "Mom, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "I forgive you, Michael. I forgive you because you're my son and I love you. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'm going to put myself back in a situation where I'm not valued." That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've heard through the grapevine that Michael and Sarah had to sell their house and move into a smaller apartment. Sarah had to go back to work full-time, and they're struggling to manage childcare and household responsibilities. The kids are having a hard time adjusting to the changes, and from what I hear, Michael is working even longer hours to try to make ends meet. Do I feel bad about it? That's the question everyone wants to know. Do I regret my decision to leave? Do I wish I'd stayed and tried to work things out? Here's what I've learned in these past few months. I've learned that I'm not dead weight. I'm not a burden. I'm a 73-year-old woman who has a lot of life left to live, and I'm not going to spend it apologizing for taking up space in this world. I've rejoined my book club. I'm volunteering at the library again. I'm taking art classes at the community center. I'm planning a trip to visit my sister in Arizona, and after that, who knows? Maybe I'll see Europe, something I always wanted to do but never had the chance. I've also learned that love isn't supposed to make you feel small. Real love, the kind that matters, makes you feel seen and valued and appreciated. It doesn't make you question your worth or wonder if you're too much trouble. And if someone's love comes with conditions, if it requires you to make yourself smaller and quieter and less inconvenient, then maybe it's not really love at all. Michael texts me sometimes. He sends pictures of the kids, updates about their lives. He's never apologized for calling me dead weight. Not really. He's apologized for the consequences of saying it, but not for the sentiment behind it. And until he can understand the difference between those two things, until he can see me as a person rather than a convenience, I'm not going back. But here's the thing that might surprise you. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. Because his words, as much as they hurt, gave me something I didn't know I needed. They gave me permission to choose myself. They gave me the push I needed to remember that I'm worth more than being convenient for other people. If you're watching this and you have elderly parents or grandparents, please take a moment to really see them. Don't just see what they can do for you or how they can make your life easier. See them as people with their own dreams and fears and desires. Ask them about their day, about their memories, about what they're thinking and feeling. Include them in your plans. Make them feel like they're part of your family, not just guests in your house. And if you're watching this and you're in a situation like I was, if you're feeling invisible or unwanted or like you're just taking up space, I want you to know something. You matter. Your feelings matter. Your happiness matters. And you don't have to accept being treated like dead weight by anyone, not even the people you love most in this world. I'm not saying it's easy to walk away from family. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. But sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is to stop enabling someone else's bad behavior. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is to show them what life looks like when they have to carry their own weight. 3 months ago, my son told me I was dead weight. He was right about one thing. I was weighing him down. But not because I was a burden. I was weighing him down because I was making his life so easy that he never had to learn how to appreciate what he had. I was weighing him down because I was giving him everything he needed without him having to ask for it, without him having to value it, without him having to say thank you. Now he's carrying his own weight, and maybe, just maybe, he's learning what it really means to be responsible for the people you love. Maybe he's learning that family isn't about convenience or what people can do for you. Maybe he's learning that when you push away the people who love you, you don't just lose their help, you lose them. As for me, I'm not dead weight anymore. I'm not weighing anyone down. I'm floating, flying, living my life on my own terms for the first time in years. And you know what? It feels amazing. If this story resonated with you, if you've been through something similar, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Share your story, because I think there are a lot of us out there who've been made to feel like we're too much trouble, like we're dead weight in our own families. And if you're dealing with a situation like this right now, please know that you have choices. You always have choices. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone learn to carry their own weight. And sometimes the most important lesson you can teach someone is that you're worth more than being convenient. My name is Margaret. I'm 73 years old, and I'm not dead weight. I'm not dead weight at all.